Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiv Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiv Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Guru Shri Radhegovind Bhagwad Ki
Jai. Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai.
Last Saturday of Kartik.
Yes. Yeah,
Friday.
this is the last one.
Usually Friday.
Friday.
I didn't mean to say Friday, not Saturday. I was thinking about we didn't get a chance to do our kirtan on a Saturday. Maybe we can do it sometime next month.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, actually, and yeah, so yeah, this weekend I'll finalize that.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Within next couple of weeks, I think we should do that.
Oh, that'd be good. I think it would be wonderful.
Just so we need to advertise to the, to the other devotees.
Yeah, well, that's why we need to take 2 to 3 weeks, but we'll just finalize this weekend and then we'll just go for that.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So we can finish this chapter, I think, today.
Yeah, we're on Shlok 37. Shall we start?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Vrisinīnām vāsudevō asmi, Pandavānām dhananjaya, Munīnām pe aham vyāsah, Kavinām ushana kavih. So of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. And of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyas. And among great thinkers, I am Usana.
Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Baladev is Krishna's immediate expansion. Both Lord Krishna and Baladev appeared as sons of Vasudev, so both of them may be called Vasudev. From another point of view, because Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, all the forms of Krishna that appear elsewhere are his expansions. Vasudev is Krishna's immediate expansion. So Vasudev is not different from Krishna. It is to be understood that the Vasudev referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita is Baladev or Balaram, because he is the original source of all incarnations, and thus he is the sole source of Vasudev. The immediate expansions of the Lord are called Swamsa, personal expansions, and there are also expansions called Vibhinamsa, separated expansions.
Among the sons of Pandu, Arjuna is famous as Dhananjaya. He is the best of men and therefore represents Krishna. Among the Munis or learned men conversant in Vedic knowledge, Vyas is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for the understanding of the common mass of people in the age of Kali. And Vyas is also known as an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, Vyas also represents Krishna. Kavis are those who are capable of thinking thoroughly on any subject matter. Among the Kavis, Ushana Shukracharya was the spiritual master of the demons. He was an extremely intelligent and far-seeing politician. Thus, Shukracharya is another representative of the opulence of Krishna.
Yeah. Any questions or comments before we might make some other comments? Any thoughts? A couple technical points being made here. that's the one we're thinking of, is that both Krishna and Balaram, their father is Vasudeva, and therefore they both are referred to as Vasudeva. That means the son of Vasudeva. But Vasudeva also has another meaning. And Vasudeva means that expansion of Krishna outside of Vrindavan, because Krishna, Swayam Rupa Krishna, he never leaves Vrindavan, but he expands himself directly. So he's in a sense non-different to do all his pastimes outside of Vrindavan, in Mathura or Dwarka, Battle or Kurukshetra, like that. Also, Balaram, he's the original expansion of Krishna. He's a Swampsa expansion, a personal expansion. But from Balaram come all the Vibhanamsha expansions. That means Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. And then from them, of course, another expansion, quadruple expansion. And then from them, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. So the science of God is expressed in this purport, in this paragraph, how Krishna is the origin of everything, and from him come all the other expansions in a very scientific sort of way.
And all of this is explained, as you know, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana. So for additional information,
the science of Krishna consciousness. It's a very detailed science, but one time Prabhupada was asked the question, how much do we really need to know? And he said, the bottom line is, I am small and Krishna is great. I'm a servant of Krishna, and that I need to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I mean, that was the bottom line. But there is a great science to Krishna consciousness. You want to do the second paragraph?
I already did.
No, you didn't do the second paragraph. But you want to explain it.
Oh.
About Vyasadeva.
Well, again, here we have these other personalities that are representations of Krishna, understanding that all of these verses talk about the most super excellent person or thing that is a representative of the Supreme Lord. Again, as was explained many verses ago in the same chapter, these are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord by which we can think of him in ways that are understandable to us. When we see the sun or the moon, or we taste the water, or we see the prowess of Arjuna, or the wisdom of Vyasadeva, the knowledge of Vyasadeva, then as representatives of the Supreme Lord, then we easily can understand that they are just like a fragment of the splendor of the Supreme Lord. And this is what Krishna is doing with all these verses, to make them available and understandable enough so that we can see him in all these supremely excellent personalities or situations or things.
One observation I'm having reading through all these verses where opulences have been explained, sometimes one may think in somewhat of a negative connotation like Shukracharya or Shark or some other examples, but really one needs to understand these from the standpoint that it is all Krishna's energy, any magnificence in the world out there, even if it is in the context that might seem negative like greed and gambling, it is in ways the energy that Krishna has that is manifesting itself, and really his glories are unlimited.
Yeah.
And wherever we see something extraordinary in whatever context, we need to appreciate it as a parcel of Krishna's energy, part and parcel of Krishna's energy.
And it's a very good point. And also, like, if we see something absolutely gorgeous, we can see a beautiful scenery or beautiful waterfall or a very, very beautiful man or woman, this is just like spark, something that enables us to think, oh, if this is so amazing, how much more amazing is the Supreme Lord?
And he also teaches us, because, for instance, we have demons, and the demons are actually, they're authorized in a sense to be there, because DT and not DT are the mothers of the demons and and demigods. But in the line of demons, Prahlad Maharaj comes. And in the line of demons comes, in the Asuric line comes Bali Maharaj. And then in that line of the Asuras, Sukracharya, who is his guru, and there's a very great lesson to be taught in there, because when Bali Maharaj is surrendering to Vamanadev, he disobeys the guru when the guru does not give him an instruction which is to further his spiritual life, that is, his spiritual life surrendering to Vishnu. And he tells him, you shouldn't do this, you should go back on your promise, because Vishnu wants to take everything from you, and you're not, it's a trick, and he's against you. But he knew in his heart, even if he wasn't totally aware of it, Bali Maharaj knew that he must do this because he had to be honest, and that by surrendering to Vishnu, he gets all benefit. So the lesson is taught here that you may be intelligent, you may be learned, but if, like Sukracharya, you aren't surrendered to Vishnu, then the instructions are no good. So Krishna has his plans for everybody.
The reason they mention Sukracharya here in this verse is because Krishna mentions Sukracharya is because he was such man of such exceptional intelligence. So when we see somebody who is very intelligent, we say, wow, we can't imagine the intelligence of Krishna. This person is so overwhelmingly intelligent. What must the Supreme Lord be like?
But he didn't do it. But his instruction not to surrender to Bali to Vamanadev was a big mistake.
Let's go to the next.
Go to the next verse, I guess.
Dandodam yatamasmi nitirasmi jigishtam maunam chevasmi gruhanam jnanam jnanvatamaham. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am the wisdom. Vinodji?
There are many suppressing agents, of which the most important are those that cut down miscreants. When miscreants are punished, the agency of chastisement represents Krishna. Among those who are trying to be victorious in some field of activity, the most victorious element is morality. Among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating, silence is most important, because by silence one can make progress very quickly. The wise man is he who can discriminate between matter and spirit, between God's superior and inferior natures. Such knowledge is Krishna himself.
Any questions or thoughts here?
I like to say something about silence.
Okay, yeah, it's already up there. Yeah, say.
Something about silence. Silence is necessary for us to do bhajan. We cannot do bhajan with full focus unless we have the right environment.
Meditation.
And for meditation or for chanting or whatever, but actually silence is more than that. It's other things. Silence is not to engage the mind and the speech in things that are nonsensical, that takes us away from the connection with the Supreme Lord. Or silence also means to silence the mind, because there's so much racing of thoughts through the mind every second. And if we want to be one-pointed in our practices of absorption in the Supreme Lord and His words, in the Mahamantra, in worship, some arctic or something, then we have to be one-pointed. And so silence means to get rid of all of these endless thoughts, at least momentarily for a little bit, so that we can perform the service that we're trying to do in order to connect with the Supreme Lord. So silence is a very, very, very important element. And for an anecdote, is like when I was growing up, I went to school with only girls, run by nuns, very intelligent nuns, by the way. And they were so intelligent that they controlled the children from, they stopped the children from any kind of excessive talk or even kind of disturbing, but making us always be silent. Well, if the mouth doesn't move, it's easier to control anybody or for oneself to control oneself. So silence is extremely important for the practice of Krishna consciousness, very important in all these aspects that I mentioned.
There are a couple, there's a word here, miscreants, which is kind of an old-fashioned word that Prabhupada likes to use, which of course means, you know, criminals or rascals, as Prabhupada would say. It's people who are like acting against Dharma, and criminals, those kinds of persons, rogues, as Rudrani has mentioned a couple times. Yes, so that word is a word you'll see over and again in Prabhupada's books. Miscreants, they're like, kind of like created, but they're mistakes, so to speak. They're just of bad quality. Now, there's another section at the very end of this purport. Very interesting, because it really sums up what Prabhupada was trying to teach us in Krishna consciousness, and that is this. The wise man is he who can discriminate between matter and spirit, between God's superior and inferior natures. One of the biggest problems people have in spiritual life or in religious life or trying to understand God is they don't know the categories of energies that God displays. That, you know, it's kind of like heaven is going to some place where you're going to just play on harp for a long time and God will somehow be there, you know, or, you know, you think you're going to live forever with your family someplace. You know, there's no clear understanding of the nature of matter, the world we live in, and the nature of spirit. So we learn, he says that, Prabhupada says that a wise man is a person who knows the difference between matter and spirit. And what is matter? Matter is this place, this energy where there is no consciousness. It's temporary, it's ignorant, and there's suffering. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that that the living beings within this world of matter are alive, the souls, the jivas, but they're encased in bodies which are dull matter. And these bodies, they have birth and they have growth and they have maintenance and then they have byproducts, they dwindle and they die.
By the agency of the presence.
And we're under the time factor. So everything is coming and going, and by its very nature, material world is called temporary and miserable. Contrast to that is spirit. And spirit isn't just, as like some people think, is opposite of matter, which means if matter has form and shape and design, that spirit is just like, you know, clouds, formless. But spirit actually is that realm where everything is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. There is no death. There's no suffering. There is only an eternal relationship with God, ultimately. So we need to know the difference between these two things. If we don't know, it's described that a wise man knows that those things which are temporary have no real existence. And those things which are permanent or spiritual never cease.
Chapter 2.
That's in chapter 2, it's verse 16. And then it says here that that matter and spirit, matter is called the inferior energy of God, and spirit is called the superior energy of God. And then one more thing that we need to know is that we, the living entities, the jiva souls, we are called the marginal energy of God. We can either identify with the spiritual energy and thus relate ourselves with God and eternity, or we can, under illusion, think ourselves an American, a Russian, a man or a woman, a dog or a cat, an ape. This is the illusory energy, and then think that we're matter. Krishna consciousness is meant to teach us the difference between this Maya, the matter of the material world, and the spiritual world, and help us identify ultimately with the spiritual world and serve Krishna.
Because we're spiritual beings, that's why.
I know that's a little wordy, but I hope that made some sense.
Any comments or questions or anything? Okay, next.
Any other thoughts? Good energy. I guess we can go to the next verse.
Yeah.
We're nearly done with the chapter.
See if we can finish today.
We may not be able to finish 32.
Yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam tadham arjuna na tadasti vinayatasya anmaya bhutam characharam. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. Sonali?
Everything has a cause, and that cause or seed of manifestation is Krishna. Without Krishna's energy, nothing can exist. Therefore, he is called omnipotent. Without his potency, neither the movable nor the immovable can exist. Whatever existence is not founded on the energy of Krishna is called Maya, that which is not.
There we are.
So this is a very important verse because Krishna is declaring himself to be the seed of all existence, and I already went through the whole Bhagwad Gita to find so many verses about who the Supreme Lord is, who Krishna is, and they're constantly being repeated in so many different ways, with so many different analogies and so many different words, that he is the Supreme. And we will see in verse 42 at the end of the chapter also some very important point that ties very closely with this one, is another manifestation of who he is, of defining who the Supreme Lord is. So we can move on to the...
In regard to the one point here, where it says that whatever is existing is not founded on the energy of Krishna is called Maya. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's one of the 4 main verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's from the 2nd canto, chapter 9, text 34. And Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, tells Brahma.
Okay, so repeat.
It's canto 2, chapter 9, verse 34. He says, oh, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
2, 9, 34.
Bhagavatam.
Yes. And he says that, it's 34.
There's all these 4 main verses.
Yeah, this is one of the 4 main verses of the Bhagavatam. He says, "Oh Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness." So this is basically what he's saying in this verse, that Maya is that which is none.
So the verses for everybody to be aware of, these 4 verses is 33, 34, 35, and 36 that are the most important verses in the Bhagavatam, that Krishna is speaking to Lord Brahma, declaring who he is. 34, 33, 34, 35, and 36.
But that is saying the same thing. If it's Maya is that which does not really exist. It exists only as a shadow of reality.
And most of the people are running for it, right? Nowadays,
That's all they know. It's because when one is an illusion, and that's all you know, it's what people take as reality.
right. Yep.
But we're fortunate if we can chant Hare Krishna in good association with devotees. Then what happens is that we're able to start seeing through the illusion and seeing how Krishna is the absolute truth.
Yep.
And that's why in chapter 2, after the setting the scene in chapter 1, one of the first topics that Krishna deals with in chapter 2 is precisely the difference between matter and spirit, and explaining in so many verses who the soul is and how we are the soul, we're not the body. So once we get that understanding, then he proceeds to the rest of the Bhagwad Gita. And then it becomes more and more clear as we read more and more of the Bhagavad Gita.
Gajendraji, that we can, maybe at another time, we can go over all those 4 verses.
Yeah.
They get a little bit too,
They're very amazing.
they're really great verses.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. And maybe I can announce when we are about to get to those verses in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are, Prabhupada has, I think one of the purports, and one of them is like 14 pages long. It's very detailed.
That will be worth going here.
Yeah, it's everything there. Those 4 verses really contain the whole philosophy.
Wow. Yeah, we should do that one day. We should just go through 4.
What I'm going to do is I'll send after our meeting here. I'll send on the WhatsApp the verses, and you can look them up yourself and read. It's it's well worth looking at.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Present.
And we can also do after this chapter, Prabhuji.
Yes, we could do that.
We can, yeah.
That would be nice. That'd be a real good project. It would take us about a number of meetings, but it'd be very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. 40, I guess now. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Move to the next, Prabhuji.
Mm-hmm.
Natostimam divyanam vibhutinam parantape eshe tudveshadahe prokto vibhute vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. Nisha?
Hare Krishna. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences and energies of the Supreme are understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjuna to pacify his inquisitiveness.
And that's pretty self-explanatory. Krishna is basically saying, I couldn't explain this to you anyway. It is just a little sample.
Okay.
Text 41.
Yaddadvi bhuti matsvatam sattvam Sri madhurjit meva tattadeva vagachyatvam mam tejo ashambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Parag?
Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be but a fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence.
Mm-hmm. In other words, everything in this material world is a derivative. It's sort of like, imagine a billionaire. He's got so much money. He's got so many houses. And then someone sees, that he's got a super expensive Mercedes-Benz. that may cost $175,000, or a big, or the best Tesla you could ever have. But for him, he's got 50 cars, and he's got 20 houses, and so what? What's one car? It's just a little portion of his vast wealth. Well, how much more so for God,
whose wealth is infinite, whose opulences are infinite, whose qualities are infinite, whose attributes are infinite.
How grand is the Grand Canyon? I mean, it's one, it's one big crack on one small grain of dust in the whole universe. I mean, it's not very big.
Now we have that from Vishwachakra.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is long.
Yeah. Okay.
Atva bahune tena kim gyatena tavajna vistabhyaha midam kritsan mekam shena stito jagat. But what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Siva?
The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as the Super Soul. The Lord here tells Arjun that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as Super Soul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them.
Sima?
There is submission that regularly propounds that worship of any demigod will lead one to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Supreme God. But worship of demigods is thoroughly discouraged herein because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiv represent only part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born and no one is greater than him. He is a Smardhu, which means that no one is superior to him and that no one is equal to him. In the Padma Puran, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiv, becomes at once an atheist. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different descriptions of the opulences and explanations of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Krishna and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation.
Sonali?
The Lord is all-pervading by the expansion of his partial representation, the Super Soul, who enters into everything that is. Pure devotees, therefore, concentrate their minds in Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in the transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 through 11. That is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, a great acharya in disciplic succession from Krishna, concludes his commentary on this chapter by saying, Yak Chakti Lesat Suryada Bhavante Ate Ugra Tejasa Yad Amsena Dhritam Vishwam Sa Krishno Dasme rachyate. From Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power. And by Krishna's partial expansion, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is worshipable.
Hare Krishna.
You know, I have a question regarding the second paragraph of this purport. It seems that Prabhupada is not very, he's speaking pretty strongly about the problems of worshiping demigods or of the gods, the devas, and that if one equates the demigods or the devas with Krishna on the same level, that really, he even says that one's an atheist. I mean, he really says that you can't do this and be a pure devotee. I mean, a person who's got pure attachment for serving Krishna. What's the problem? What's the issue here between Krishna and who Krishna is and who the demigods are? What's the difference?
They partly represent the opulences of the expansion of Krishna's energy. Not full.
That's true. The demigods are just partial representatives. And that's a really good point because, you know, let's say someone like Indra or Chandra or Surya, they represent, you know, powers within the universe, you know, the sun, the moon, rain, wind. But what's the difference in category between Krishna and the demigods? There's a categorical difference that means you can't equate one with the other. It's like apples and oranges. Even though they may appear to some people to be somewhat the same, their personalities, but there's a categorical difference. What is that categorical difference? And once you know this, I mean, it becomes so clear how Krishna is God and the others are subordinate to him.
The demigods are also under the influence of Maya.
Yes, that's a good answer. The demigods are in Maya. They're conditioned souls.
They're conditioned souls. They're
Yeah.
conditioned.
We could become a demigod. Parag, in a previous life, you were Indra. You may have been Chandra.
Yeah.
Sonali was Saraswati.
Yeah, Saraswati. Or Sonali may have been, Kubera too. You know? But because these are changeable posts, and even our genders here, you know, have nothing to do with whether or not we were a male demigod or a female. I mean, they are changeable.
Jivas.
They're jiva souls like us. So, you know, you can be a human sometimes, you can be a demigod sometimes, you might be an animal sometimes. But Krishna and the Vishnu expansions are eternally existent in their forms. The forms are eternal themselves. It's called Vishnu Tattva. So Vishnu is always Vishnu, Krishna is always Krishna. I mean, Vishnu and Krishna Vishnu is an expansion of Krishna. You could say they're the same in many ways, although there is, of course, a difference in pastimes. But that's the point. You can't equate one with the other. We won't get in too much into it. Shiva has a special platform, special position. He's actually an eternal being, but he's Krishna with he's Krishna's energy in touch with matter to do certain jobs. So Shiva has a special in-between category.
And sometimes you can have Shivas, because Shiva is the name of the position. In other planets, they are not in this middle category. They are Jivas. They are living
expansions of Shiva.
No, living entities.
Yeah.
But being chosen to perform the position of Lord Shiva. So it's complicated.
But the main thing we want to remember is that when you may meet people, especially Indians, Ganesh, Durga, Saraswati, they're, and Krishna, they're all the same. No, they aren't. We have all respect for the demigods. In fact, the demigods are great devotees, and the demigods should never be disrespected. And we should understand that they have great positions of power and they have great responsibilities, but they cannot be equated equally with Krishna, because Krishna, he is called Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. So he's Ishvara Parama Krishna. He's the highest supreme controller. Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. He's got an eternal body. He's got a body full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Anadir Adir Govinda. He's got no other beginning. Nothing's before him. And he's Sarva Karna Karnam. He's the cause of all causes. Indra can't say that. Shiva can't say that. Saraswati can't say that. Ganesh cannot say that. It's the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. And Gajendraji has been studying this. This is a great, important verse.
It's a very important text. Yeah. You know, I was meditating on this verse today and this commentary about the demigods, and I was thinking how difficult it is from somebody who comes from a culture where demigod worship is so common. Everybody does it. To just stay away from the demigods, to say, I'm renouncing my worship of the demigods. It doesn't mean that there's any disrespect. And I was thinking, if I were to make a parallel between this and the Catholic faith, which I was brought up in, where you have the Supreme Lord, my Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and all the saints in the church with different functions and different powers, because you can pray to different saints in the church for different benefits. Like, for example, St. Joseph for a good death, or St. Christopher for safe driving, or St. Lucia for good eyesight. It's very similar in the sense that they are giving you all kinds of material blessings. And so you can tell a Catholic, don't pray for these blessings, just pray to superior love for him. And it's the same principle. That's why in chapter 7 of the Bhagwad Gita, Krishna says that men of small intelligence worship the demigods. That's what he says. That's Krishna saying. Now, he is not going to discourage necessarily the worship of demigods, because he says that when a person becomes attached to one of the demigods, let's say Surya or let's say Ganesh or somebody, he makes his faith steady, because that is a process of deepening one's faith that eventually will take us to the Supreme Lord. And one thing is, the benefit of the demigods is material, but we're trying to leave matter behind once and for all after zillions of lifetimes, right? So that's why I say, if you have any needs, if you have any desires, if you don't have any desires, or if you only want to be liberated, worship me alone. He says that in the Bhagavatam also. So we need to understand this principle. And if we have some devotion for some demigod, we fully respect the demigod, but we also understand that the demigod can only give us material benefits.
By Krishna's grace.
By Krishna's grace, because he's the one who is empowering the demigods to bless us with some benefits. So if we develop this understanding, then we have a greater capacity of discrimination to choose what it is that we really need to do in order to be able to leave behind so many lifetimes and progress toward our ultimate destination, which is the spiritual world, because we are spiritual beings. We don't belong here. We just don't belong here.
Hare Krishna. We don't want to be a demigod. No how good it is.
I'd like to read something that is from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It'll take about
30 seconds.
1 minute. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a very powerful personality in our line, and he says, what need is there? This is in chapter 4, verse 42. What need is there for you to know all this in separate detail? You should understand the essence. That's Krishna speaking, right? I, by my partial aspect, as the indwelling witness, as the supersoul of material nature, support the entire universe. As the substratum, I support it. As the presiding authority, I preside over it. And as the controller, I control it. Being all pervasive, I pervade it. And as the creator, I am its cause. So here's the definition. Who is Krishna? So once we understand who is the Supreme Lord Krishna, that he is everything, he's the supporter, he's the maintainer, he's the cause of everything, he's the creator, he's everything, then our duty is to connect with him in service, in loving service. And that's what the Bhagwad Gita is teaching us and explained further in the Srimad Bhagavatam with so many examples and so many magnificent verses. Very inspiring. Srimati Tulsi.
So we had the Tulsi Vivah, right? The marriage of Tulsi Maharani this week.
Yes, yes.
Mataji, very good. You are reading the Hindi.
Yeah, trying to. Maharani ki arti.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we can do this class in Hindi actually. All right, so because we had Tulsi Bhagwan Shaligram Vivah this week, I think we'll just play Tulsi Arti.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you.
We'll meet next Friday.
Namo Namo दासे को
Shri Radha Govinda Preme
We sing this song every morning at the temple.
Yes, so
Every
Malla
morning.
song.
Hare Krishna.
Every morning,
I was
yes.
just remembering
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really sweet.
And it's a very powerful, a very, very sublime song. In
Oh,
fact,
yes, yes. Very.
Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and other acharyas would not allow anybody to know this song. But Prabhupada made it possible for us to know.
Because it's very intimate.
It's very intimate.
And asking for you for service as a maid servant of
As a gopi.
Yeah, as a
actually.
gopi.
Yeah.
very, very nice. Nice, very. Thank you, Gajendra. It's a very nice rendition.
Yeah.
Very
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Yeah.
Kavraji, if you can post the link, please, in the chat.
Yeah, that's really nice.
It's a really, really beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
And
very
we
Yeah.
learn Hindi when we watch it.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Friday.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. So
Thanks.
nice to see
See you
everybody.
tomorrow.
Everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll
Yes.
see you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.